Most active people are stretching after workouts, but it's not actually changing anything. I used to do the same thing, and I'm a yoga teacher. I used to stretch after every long bike, long run, after hard lifts, but it never actually changed anything. And I'd get to my next workout feeling stiff and sore again. So if you're a runner, rider, lifter, climber, hiker, whatever it is that you love, and you're tired of going through life stiff and sore, maybe starting to feel those nagging aches and pains, I'm going to walk you through how I plan my week so that this never happens again. And the whole thing works in just 10 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, which I know you can fit into your real life. So here's what's happening. Stretching only addresses muscle length, but what keeps you stiff and sore is muscle length, tissue circulation, and nervous system recovery. So even though you're stretching consistently, it's not actually fixing the problem you think it is. So more stretching would only cover 1/3 of real recovery, and that's what keeps you stuck. And it's why, even if you're really good about stretching after every workout, you still wake up the next day kind of hobbling to the bathroom or the coffee maker, just feeling really stiff and sore in whatever you worked, and just assuming that it's kind of normal. But if you upgrade from stretching to a structured yoga practice, you're going to cover all three, even in a very short window of time. So you actually start to feel better. So now that you know that stretching isn't what we should be focusing on, how do I build my week to make sure that real recovery is built in? That's what I'm going to walk you through next. A big reason your recovery routine isn't working like you'd like is that most people really structure their recovery over how they feel right now. So if my legs are feeling sore, maybe I'm going to do something for that. If my back is feeling sore, maybe I'm going to do something for that, instead of planning it more strategically to be sure that you're preventing yourself from even getting into that situation. So let's start with a plan by looking at your calendar, starting by looking at your key workouts first. So that might be your big ride, your big hikes, your big runs. What are those things you're focused on right now? Hopefully, also with some strength training layered in. And then we're going to look for those slots where your recovery, your progressive yoga practice is going to fit in nicely. So here's what this looks like in my real week. So right now, my main focus is mountain biking. So I start by putting my long bikes on the weekend to be sure that I'm keeping that base, maybe building up elevation for a big ride that I have coming up, maybe working on the duration. Those are the things that go on my calendar first. Second, I'm going to look at my strength training. I currently strength train 4 times a week, and I prefer to get those done during weekdays. So I'm looking at my Monday through Friday and putting those on the calendar where it fits best. Then, once those are laid out, I'm looking for small windows of time where I can fit in my yoga practice. This is just 10 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, making sure that I'm doing that consistently every week. So that might fit in my mornings before work. Maybe I've got more time at lunch one day. Maybe I'm squeezing it in between meetings, but I'm laying that also on the calendar. So it's already there before my week even starts. You might have noticed I didn't say that my yoga practice had to be right after those workouts. Now, sometimes that works out and it feels really nice, but it doesn't actually need to happen right after those workouts if you're being consistent. So those 10 to 30 minute slots can layer in wherever works best through my week. And as long as I really stick with that consistently, my body's going to feel great regardless of when it happened. So you might be hearing that consistency is that key. And I'll give you my tip to make sure that happens even when life gets busy. But first, if you want to make sure that those nagging aches and pains don't turn into a $150 PT visit, I've got a 5-minute test that very simply helps you point out the areas that need your focus right now. So you can grab that link in the description below, pause now and get it, or just make sure you come back to it when we finish here. So remember, consistency is the key here, making sure that you've got those slots of just 10 to 30 minutes 2 to 3 times a week. So when you're laying out your schedule, actually put this on your calendar. So I will just usually block out 30 minutes, knowing that I might not use the whole time, but that gives me the space to make it easy to get done. And then following a plan that's already been laid out means you're not guessing what to do when that pops up as a reminder on your calendar. You just hit play, knowing that the next thing on your plan has been designed to make sure you're getting the most out of that time. That consistency is what helps you actually feel relief. And it only takes about 2 to 3 weeks of that consistent practice to start to feel your shoulders feel more open. Your legs start to feel a little bit longer, less stiff. Your hips actually want to move instead of feeling locked up all the time. And that means your next workout goes even better than it did before. Okay, there's a version of this where you're just picking random yoga videos, and that does help a little bit. But there's also a version where you're following a structured plan so that you're getting the most out of your precious time. So those 2 to 3 sessions a week really add up to you feeling great. So the difference here is putting that structure in place before your week even starts. So if you know you're going to be spending a lot of time on the bike and that's causing your hips and hamstrings to feel really tight, you're selecting workouts, yoga classes that actually target that area. And if you're spending a lot of time at the computer or even a phone during the week, you're planning things that work on your back, some back bends, heart openers, things like that. So if you're being strategic about this, your plan is then laid out for you to tackle those areas where you know you need a little more support so that you're going to be prepared to really have the capacity to handle everything you throw at it in the coming weeks. So this means you're not just picking random classes out of this library, right? You're actually choosing strategically the classes that are going to help you get the best results to fit what's actually going on in your own body and the activities that you love to do. So let's think about what this looks like for you right now. Maybe you're a runner and you're building up your volume for an upcoming event. So you know your weekends are really built around a long run. So think about what feels the most stiff and sore between your runs and kind of as you wake up in the morning. That's probably something around your legs. Maybe your quads have been stiff, your hips have been a little bit stiff. When you're starting your run, maybe it takes like 20 minutes to start to warm up. These are signs of the areas that could use the most support in your yoga practice throughout the week. So I might choose things that are going to support my hips, my hamstrings, and my quads to make sure you're building in that capacity throughout your week so that when you get to that long run, your body's actually feeling good because you've created that structure for your recovery so that those yoga classes actually serve you and they're not anything random. So remember, don't make this complicated. You're just choosing 2 to 3 classes a week that target the areas of your body that need the most support. That's what's going to help you get the most out of your precious time. Now, before you think you need 60-minute classes to get what you need out of yoga, or that you need to start a daily yoga practice, I have something that might surprise you. Every time I tell people how little they need to practice in order to really feel the relief from their yoga, they never believe me. But then they try it and then they can't argue with how they feel. So here's all you need: 10 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. That's it. You can always do more, but that's really the dose that allows you to feel the benefits that you're looking for and supports all those other activities you're already doing. The mistake a lot of people make is that they start with the opposite. They try to do as much as possible and then they get burned out. They can't figure out how to actually keep that pace. They get worn out from all those extra practices that maybe they aren't ready for yet, and then they stop completely. So that good intention turns into feeling a little bit like a failure or waiting until they have more time or their schedule slows down so they can fit more in. When really all you need is 10 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. And I know you can find that even if you're busy right now. Now, once that habit is locked in, you could always add on to it later. You can start to take some longer classes, start to learn new poses, maybe explore some handstands, other inversions that you might find interesting, like I do, but the minimum remains the same. You don't need all of that in order to feel the relief that you're looking for. Daily yoga just isn't necessary because you're already active. That advice isn't built for runners, riders, lifters, hikers. It's built for someone who isn't active and that's creating their movement practice for the first time. Since you're already active, we just need that shorter minimum dose in order to really feel the benefits of the practice. Okay, Let's recap what we learned. If you want to keep going strong in your 50s, 60s, 80s, and beyond, you don't need to slow down. You don't need to give up your favorite activities. You just need that consistent yoga practice as your foundation for recovery that supports everything else you want to do. And that means just 10 to 30 minutes of strategic yoga 2 to 3 times a week. You can do that right now, not waiting until some magical time when you all of a sudden have more space in your schedule. That never happens. Starting it now and making it a consistent habit that you can build from if you want. Now that you have your weekly plan, you're probably wondering what you need to do when you stop stretching after those hard workouts. Click the video on the screen and I'll show you right now.